In the past, I've always looked at plushes as a form of art. That might sound strange, but when you think about it, someone out there had to design, pattern, and produce all of these. I mean, come on. You can't look at this Funky Kong plush and tell me it's not art. So much time and effort goes into designing even just one of these guys. Not to mention designing their tags, their marketing material, and all of the behind-the-scenes work that happens. A lot of talent and skill goes into the design of stuff like plushes, and I don't think many people realize that. However, while it is true that many plushes give fans of these characters a way to either play with them, or simply have a physical representation of their favorite characters, at the end of the day, plushes are made to sell. They're made to promote and advertise the brands and franchises they represent. Some plushes are more obvious with this than others, but because plushes are an excellent form of marketing, many companies have taken to plush designers to produce ones based off of their products or brands. And that's what I'm gonna look at today. These promotional brand items will lead to some of the oddest plushes you'll find. Like, for example, here's a lovely plush of the Aflac Duck of all characters. We've also got an endless plushes of Chuck E. Cheese and his gang. Don't even get me started on all of the McDonald's plushes out there. And who could forget the catalog of plushes based off of the Coca-Cola polar bear? A lot of these are cheap, pretty worthless plushes, but some are pretty fascinating. While there isn't much to be said about something like a Crazy Frog plush, some do have interesting stories to them. In this video, I'll be going over some of the wackiest brand promotional plushes I can find. This will likely be one of the strangest videos I'll ever make. And with that said, let's begin. This is the wacky world of weird promotional brand plushes. Let's begin with one of the strangest examples you can find of a promotional plush. If you don't recognize this guy here, allow me to have the pleasure of introducing him to you. This is Bonzi Buddy, the titular mascot of the program Bonzi Buddy, a desktop buddy program that was popular around the early 2000s. The history of Bonzi Buddy is something far out of the scope of this wacky plush overview video, and there are already excellent videos on the subject, but to summarize, Bonzi Buddy was a program similar to Microsoft's Office Assistant program. See, back in the early 2000s, lots of people were getting to use the internet for the first time, and as it was all brand new, a lot of people didn't understand it. That's where Bonzi came in. Bonzi Buddy, as well as other similar software, served to be sorta like an internet tour guide. As you explored the enriching 1999 World Wide Web, he'd always be on screen cracking jokes, and maybe, if you're lucky, actually helping you. Over time, he'd learn your interests, and help you find other cool, crazy sites you're probably not actually interested in. Here's what the official Bonzi Buddy website had to say about the program. Welcome to the world of Bonzi Buddy. He will explore the internet with you as your very own friend and sidekick. He can talk, walk, joke, browse, search, email, and download like no other friend you've ever had. He even has the ability to compare prices on the products you love and help you save money. Best of all, he's free. While the official site is long gone, mirrors of it do exist, so you can still see the marketing genius of Bonzi Buddy in all its glory. He will learn from you. Once he knows your likes and interests, he will search the world and find new sites you have not yet discovered or traveled to. Wow, he'd do all of that just for me? Bonzi Buddy, what a sweetheart. He can kiss and hug friends and loved ones all over the world on your behalf. He will deliver the message himself, and even talk and express emotions for you. Ah yes, Bonzi, please hug and kiss my loved ones for me. What an appealing sounding product. The program was distributed by Bonzi Software, originally popping up in 1999 and being discontinued in 2004. Going off of all of that, it should be no surprise that Bonzi Buddy caught on, and became a fairly well-known piece of software. Unfortunately, however, it was soon discovered that not all was right with Bonzi Buddy. This happy-go-lucky purple ape was a cover-up, as the program was spyware. Bonzi Buddy was advertised as being able to learn about your online tendencies, but that meant the program actively tracked and collected information about its users. Along with that, it managed many of your browser and computer settings without your permission. It could also be classified as adware, as it created many pop-up ads, which it claimed were based off your interests, but were still ads nonetheless. Bonzi Buddy was deemed as a malware virus, and people quickly caught on. Eventually, Bonzi Software was taken to court over Bonzi Buddy, when in 2002, they were hit with a class action lawsuit regarding the deceptive ads the software produced. The company ended up paying over $170,000 in legal fees. Before the discontinuation of Bonzi Buddy, the company had to pay another $75,000 fee for violating the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. All of this was clearly bad news, and Bonzi Buddy was discontinued in 2004. For years, everyone knew Bonzi Buddy as an annoying piece of spyware, but thanks to the internet latching onto the character through hilarious streams by people like Joel from Vinesauce, Bonzi Buddy has become truly infamous. Nowadays, tons of people, including me, love Bonzi ironically. With all of this new love for Bonzi Buddy, it may come as a surprise that there actually is an official plush of the character. Yes, this spyware virus program got a promotional plush. This plush was manufactured and released in 2001, though you couldn't simply buy it with money. It's not like you could walk into your local Toys R Us or Radio Shack in 2001 and pick up your brand new Bonzi Buddy plush or something like that. No. Many plushes based off of brands or mascots are made as promotional items, usually being giveaways for when a consumer met a certain requirement. In this case, this Bonzi plush was a reward for being part of the Bonzi Buddy Gold membership program. Bonzi's so-called Gold membership program was pretty controversial. Sure, the website claimed the software was completely free, but along with ads, this membership is how Bonzi's software got money out of the program. The software constantly advertised it to its users, saying you'd get wondrous benefits from it. Apparently, one of those benefits was that you'd receive this plush as a thank you gift of sorts. It might be a wild assumption, but I don't think many people signed up for the Bonzi Buddy Gold membership, so it doesn't seem like many of these were made or given away. Because of that, very few survive today, and the plush is now quite valuable. Just recently, at the time of me making this video, this one sold at auction for nearly $225. Bonzi, being a popular meme character nowadays, has an entirely new fan base, so this plush, being from 2001, has huge demand it never had before, leading to a huge spike in its value. Because of all of this, I'm very honored to say that I'm a proud owner of this Bonzi Buddy plush. That's right, sit down ladies and gentlemen, this is the story of how I got my Bonzi Buddy plush. I learned of this plush's existence shortly after learning about Bonzi Buddy himself. I really got to know the character thanks to Joel's incredible streams that featured him. These streams were and still are incredibly funny, and I rewatch them every so often. Bonzi Buddy quickly became one of my favorite online oddities, and I was very interested in its history. Being a plush collector, I was very shocked to find out that an official plush of him actually existed. However, I could never find much info on it. Trust me, lots of great images of him were online, but I imagine he was very scarce, and I would never be able to own one. I quickly learned that yes, he was a reward for being a part of the elite group of humans known as Bonzi Buddy Gold members, which all but dashed any hope I had of obtaining him. For years now, this listing of Bonzi has been on eBay. It was for a mint condition Bonzi Buddy plush. The listing's images were very high quality, and man, was he great looking. However, there was one slight problem. The listing's price was $500. Well, I never saw myself paying that much for him, so I carried on with my life. However, just recently I got back into looking for the plush, and right around the time I was looking for him, this auction went up. With a starting bid of $120, it was already pretty high, but I thought, hey, maybe I could make a funny video out of it and it'd be worth it. Then that auction ended for $225, as I mentioned earlier. Safe to say I did not win it. However, that $500 listing was still up. I was curious as to how many Bonzi plushes had actually sold on eBay, so I checked the eBay archive site WorthPoint, and as I expected, very few of them had been sold over the years. However, a whopping 7 of the 10 archive sales of the plush all seemed to come from the same seller. That same listing hadn't been up for years. It was the seller selling off tons of old stock of the plush. They had multiple Bonzi Buddies. So I quickly messaged them asking if they had any more and if it was possible for me to buy one for, you know, less than $500. To my surprise, they graciously accepted my offer, and I got one. They also sent me this very blessed image of 4 Bonzi Buddies all together. I don't think anyone else in the world has captured so much raw Bonzi power together, so this was truly a sight. Unfortunately, these 4 were the only members of the Bonzi gang they had left, and I guess after selling me mine, they only have 3. How this person managed to get 14 plus Bonzi Buddy plushes, I do not know. Perhaps they found a case of them after the gold membership failed to reach enough users to clear out stock? I imagine a lot of the plushes produced originally went without owners, as not many people were conned into the membership program, so tons of unsold stock had to exist, and while very few of these seem to still be in circulation today, I guess this seller ended up with a ton of them. The seller was super nice and allowed me to get it for a fraction of their original asking price, and just a few days after paying for it, Bonzi Buddy was officially in my house. Somehow, my house didn't immediately crumble at the mere presence of Bonzi, so I'm able to give you guys a close-up in-hand look at him. First off, I want to say that while Bonzi Buddy is treated as nothing more than a joke today, I guess the company really did believe he would catch on, because wow, this is a really great plush. I'm not joking, this guy is seriously high quality. He might be the best Bonzi Buddy related thing there is. The materials used are super soft and vibrant, his pattern is spot on, and he has big plastic eyes that capture his cartoony look perfectly. One cool feature of this plush is that he has Velcro on his hands, so he can pull off his signature pose. If you want, however, you can free his arms. Fans of 90s Nintendo plushes will be surprised to hear that this plush was made by none other than BD&A, the company responsible for the Nintendo Collectibles plush line from the late 90s, meaning the same company that made these also made this Bonzi Buddy plush. The tag on this plush is also really great. It features that distinct Bonzi style of not really looking that good, but still being pretty charming. We've got the famous Bonzi render of him balancing the globe on his fingertips, as he is known to do, along with the software is far from the truth tagline, your best friend on the net. The back of the tag is really special. It features an in-character description of Bonzi Buddy. I'll let the big man say it himself.
Welcome to the future of internet travel. I'm your Bonzi Buddy, the new way to interact with your computer. I'm your interactive friend and traveling companion on the internet. I walk, talk, sing, browse and search the internet with you. I learn your likes and interests and automatically find websites you have not yet discovered. The more you use me, the smarter I become.
Right. Anyway, this plush is seriously well made and super cool. If you wish to find one, good luck, cause he'll run you quite a lot unless you get lucky, but he's totally worth searching for. I mean, look at him, he's Bonzi Buddy, your best friend on the net. While I collect these plushes out of pure love for these characters, it is true that there will always be a bit of nostalgia attached to these guys. One thing I'm super nostalgic for is old websites I used to browse when I was younger. Now, I was never an active user, but as a certified 2000s kid, you could find me quite often on DeviantArt.com. Whether I was looking at general artwork, comics, animations, you name it, I spent a lot of time browsing the site. DeviantArt was really popular in the 2000s, so I'm sure many of you can relate to this. One thing that always stood out to me about DA was its mascot. While many of you probably recognize this guy, you might not know his name. This is Fella, and he's been the DeviantArt mascot since 2001. Fella was originally designed by the user Switched. The design was created for a contest to design a mascot for the site. Fella won, and has been the main mascot of the site ever since. He's gone through a few design changes, with his current look being the one most people know. Before this design was introduced, however, Fella received an official plush, who could be purchased on the official DeviantArt store. The plush was designed by the same user who would later go on to redesign Fella, the Kid Chaos. Here's an original piece of concept art for the plush, and here are some turnaround concepts of the plush as well. It's awesome that so much design work for this guy is available online publicly. He was first put up for pre-order in 2007 on the official DeviantWare store, and he was available shortly after that. He quickly sold out but was restocked a few times. Considering how much work went into this guy, it's no surprise that this plush turned out great. He's a good 12 inches or so in length, so he's quite large, and captures the mid-2000s look Fella had very well. This is a plush of this design of the character, and not the 2008 redesign we know today. Because of that, he has very detailed eyes and the old DeviantArt logo tattooed on his body. His details are embroidered and look really nice. Fella is a very simply designed character, so having these be embroidered makes a fairly simple plush appear far higher quality than it would have otherwise. Also, thankfully, his seam lines are not nearly as noticeable as they were on this old piece of concept art. My Fella is the original release of the plush. However, after DeviantArt changed its logo styling, he was re-released with, in my opinion, a much nicer placed logo. The rest of the plush remained the same, however. This was the last release of the plush before the store shut down, meaning he's no longer made and no longer available for purchase. Unfortunately, the DeviantArt store shut down on May 29th, 2013, and no future Fella plush has been released. It's also unlikely one ever will be, as he's not that prominent on DeviantArt anymore. Before the store closed, however, another DeviantArt plush was released, this one being of a super llama. While not as iconic as Fella, llamas were a huge part of DeviantArt back in the day, so this is a really nice thing to have if you're a fan of the site. You could also buy these guys in a cheaper bundle together. Fella was also re-released in a bundle with 2 exclusive Fella stickers. Exciting stuff, I know. His tag is unfortunately pretty basic, simply saying, "I'm a Fella plushie," though it does have an in-character description on the back, which is always a nice touch. As I said, I was never a huge DeviantArt user, but the site does have a special place in my heart, and I have a ton of memories of the site from when I was younger. Having this plush is a nice reminder of those memories. Now, I'd consider myself a man of culture. Not because I collect things like Sonic the Hedgehog plushes, no. I'm a man of culture because for years now, I've been an eater of Tony's Pizza. Don't worry, this isn't a sponsored video or anything. I've just always loved Tony's Pizza ever since I was young. I have no idea why, well, besides it being really good, but when it came to frozen pizza, I'd always mess with Tony's. Tony's Pizza has a fairly interesting history. As it's written in stone on the Tony's Pizza website, the story goes that in 1960, Tony and his brother-in-law Dick set out to create the perfect pizza in their pizzeria. Blah blah blah, they eventually made some really good frozen pizza. They've done things like had a hookup with Nintendo in 2002 with a Game Boy Advance promotion. They even had a promotion with Spy Kids 3D Game Over, and if that's not a sign of quality, I don't know what is. Tony's Pizza has a mascot, as any good pizza company should, Chef Tony himself. Seen proudly on every Tony's product, this guy is pretty great. So, what does a man want more than a plush of a mascot from a frozen pizza box? I'll tell you what, nothing. And good news, we're in luck. Believe it or not, an official plush of Chef Tony exists. You can get a physical representation of the man, the myth, the legend, Tony. If you think that's weird, get this. There isn't just one plush of this dude, but 3. There's this standard stylized 12-inch plush, a more detailed but smaller 10-inch plush, and a pretty creepy looking flat 2D plush. This thing is 22 inches tall, so just imagine having this thing in your house. This plush of him was made by RB Toy Design, and was available around $19.99 as a free mail-in reward. You got him if you collected enough proof of purchase points for buying store-bought frozen pizza. Nowadays, you can find him for dirt cheap online. It's so strange to see that not only does a plush exist of a literal frozen pizza mascot, not only do 3 of them exist, but they're actually pretty decent. Well, at least this one is, as he's very well made. He's really accurate to the design of the character, he's posed, he has his signature poofy tomato hat, and his hair is really bushy. This plush reminds me of those old creepy looking Mario plushes, specifically the ones by Acme. I'm so glad this guy exists. I'm so happy that people were paid to design, pattern, and manufacture a plush of a frozen pizza mascot. Now when I go to my kitchen to prepare a fresh store-bought Tony's Pizza, he can be there with me. He can follow me as I unwrap the pizza, heat my oven up to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, leave the pizza in there for 30 minutes even though the box says 19. He can even be there when I take it out and take my first bite of that crispy, delicious, mouth-watering Tony's Pizza. Yeah, move over, Soap Shoes Sonic. This guy is now a contender for my favorite plush of all time. Joking aside, I mean, I guess it's cool such an accurate plush of the character exists. Who am I kidding? The world would be so much worse if this guy didn't exist. Thank you, Chef Tony, for all you've done for us. While there are countless plushes made for series like Mario and Sonic, certain video game mascots get very few items made of them. Many of these lesser-known character plushes have fallen far into obscurity, giving fans little hope of ever obtaining them. One such plush is this guy. What you're looking at is an official promotional Bubsy the Bobcat plush manufactured in 1993. Bubsy, much like Bonzi Buddy, has become very notorious. However, back during the release of his first game, the company Accolade really believed their Bubsy would become a big deal. Several games were made, a cartoon pilot was produced but no show ever materialized, and a lot of promotional goods were created. However, Bubsy didn't last long, and while he's back now, there was a huge gap in time where no Bubsy merchandise was produced. That means that what does exist is very hard to find, as believe it or not, Bubsy does have some pretty dedicated fans who'd do anything to get any merch they can find of this character. The true Bubsy merch holy grail, however, is this plush. Information on this guy is very scarce, as he was never actually commercially released and was only ever given away to employees of Accolade. This plush has been high on my want list for years. Bubsy is such a wacky character, so the fact that there's an official plush is really crazy to me. It's really cool. Only a handful of images of this plush have popped up over the years. It doesn't even seem like any have ever been sold on eBay. And I don't know about you, but I don't personally know anyone with this mythical Bubsy plush. So these images and brief recounts are all we have to go off of. Here's a tweet from 2011 with an image of the plush. For some more concrete info, however, there's this 2013 post from the forum site Atari Age, posted by a very dedicated Bubsy fan going by the name of Dr. Clue, all about Bubsy merchandise. In the post, they relay a message they received from another user named Jenny N, whose dad allegedly worked at Accolade back during Bubsy's prime time. Jenny messaged Dr. Clue as they were happy to see such a dedicated fan of Bubsy. They shared many interesting tidbits regarding the unique position they were in, having a dad who worked with the Bubsy series. They recounted that their dad used to come home with random pieces of Bubsy merchandise, one day even coming home in a Bubsy mascot costume. Wild stuff. They also talked about how they used to go to Accolade's headquarters and saw some crazy stuff there, including this plush. That confirms that yes, he's official, and was an internal item that could be taken home by employees. They said that at the Accolade headquarters, they had a whole drawer full of the plushes. A whole drawer full of Bubsy plushes? Considering how non-existent this guy is nowadays, that is crazy to think about. It reminds me of how Sega had a good 40 or so Soap Shoe Sonic plushes hanging out at the Sonic Cafe. They ended the message by saying that they would follow up with more pictures of the plush, as well as, get this, pictures of his companion. This would seemingly be a plush of Arnold the Armadillo, Bubsy's sidekick. Does an Arnold plush exist? That's way more insane than just the Bubsy plush existing. Unfortunately though, no evidence of that beyond this post has surfaced online. While to many people a Bubsy plush may not seem that special, I'm sure there are tons of Bubsy fans who desperately want this guy. Once again, similar to Bonzi Buddy, this plush looks to be incredibly well made. He's made of high quality soft materials, he has a fully detailed shirt, vibrant plastic eyes, and all around looks like a perfect plush of the Bubster. While I was fortunate enough to find the Bonzi Buddy plush, I regret to say I have never been able to find this plush of Bubsy. I doubt I'll ever get one of these guys, but it's such a cool piece. I can't imagine more than a handful of these ever existed, and very few must still exist today. Most of you watching likely know of Bubsy's infamy. Not many people really respect the character or his games, which is understandable. I'm not a huge fan of the games myself, but his design is pretty cool and this is an awesome plush. However, it seems the hatred of Bubsy extended beyond the general public. Even the developers of Bubsy dislike the guy. In an interview regarding the development of Bubsy 2, it was revealed that a designer of the game stabbed a pencil through the head of one of these Bubsy plushes, and then hung it by its neck in their workplace, as a way to cope with their anger of the character. I get that working on Bubsy 2 must have been a painful experience, but come on, he's so cute here. How could you stab this? What an incredible story. Oh my gosh. With that said though, it makes it even more likely that a lot of these were probably just thrown out. If the developers themselves didn't like the character, and they were the ones with these plushes, why would they keep them around? However, there is at least one case of the plush being given away to the general public. I can't find much info on this, but apparently there was a contest to promote the TV show pilot, and if this person is to be believed, one of the prizes was this plush. Unfortunately, they couldn't provide pictures of him, but that means that at least one Bubsy plush was given away. As for the fates for all those Bubsies in those drawers, hopefully they didn't all get stabbed. The developers probably just gave them away to their relatives or something. I'm not sure if this is related at all, but the official Bubsy Twitter account once referenced a Bubsy Beanie Baby styled plush that was never made. Perhaps this plush is the one they're talking about, assuming this isn't just a joke. Considering how well made the plush is, I'm not sure if he was ever meant to be more than just an employee giveaway, but it is possible. On the subject of failed mascots made into plushes, a lot of characters similar to Bubsy had plushes made of them. I mean, if you're designing a character to be recognizable enough to be a mascot, of course you'd make a plush of them. Did you know that there's an official Blinks the Time Sweeper plush? How about an official Klonoa plush? This one has actually always been one of my most wanted plushes ever since I got into collecting. 2 plushes of Klonoa were made back when the first game in the series was released. They both look similar, with one being large and stuffed, while the other is smaller and filled with beans. Both were released in a set of Namco plushes and UFO catchers in Japan, and have become very hard to find. I rarely see any for sale, and they always demand a very high price tag. And that's the case with the majority of the plushes of these obscure characters. These characters do have very dedicated fans out there, and these plushes will likely forever be the only ones made of them, so fans will pay anything for a chance to grab these guys. I think it's great that those fans have an official plush to collect of their favorite character. We rarely see plushes of characters like these made nowadays. By now, it should be clear that promotional plushes can be some of the most interesting plushes out there. Ones like Bonzi Buddy and Bubsy have such interesting, sometimes even tragic stories, and those stories are super fascinating to me. It's great when a plush is not only just a really nice collectible on its own, but has a story to go with it. History to make it worth more than just the item itself. On its own, this is just a slightly above average plush of a purple gorilla, but all of the context and sentimental appeal brought by it being Bonzi makes it so funny and really cool. There are a lot more examples of bizarre and out there promotional plushes, but I think you get the idea. And the best part is, there isn't much demand for a majority of these guys. Like I said, the Chef Tony plush, for example, can be found for really cheap, though some can become very valuable if the brand associated with them becomes popular, like what happened with Bonzi. I hope you've enjoyed this interesting look at a section of plush collecting not often explored. I'm sure many of you have memories of these strange promotional plushes, and I hope this video has brought back some good memories. Whether they have a fascinating story, they remind you of a good memory, or they're simply funny, these plushes are some of my favorites for how unique they truly are.